Good day, learners. Welcome to English class today. Today, we're going to be looking at past simple tense. In today's class, we're going to be looking at past simple tense. So, today, we're going to learn all about what tenses are and what the past tense is all about. To start this class, we're going to be starting how do we make use of the word the past simple tense. Now we use the past simple tense to talk about actions that happened and were completed in the past. We use the past simple tense to talk about actions that actually happened in the past and was completed in the past. Now, past tense are not used for actions that are currently happening or actions that are about to happen. They are used for action that has already happened and was completed in the past. Secondly, we use past simple tense for actions that occurred at a specific time in the past. Now, for every action that has occurred at a specific time in the past, we make use of past simple tense. Then thirdly, past simple tense are used to talk about actions in a sequence of events in the past. Actions that occurred in a sequence of events in the past, we use past simple tense to talk about them. Now in the next slide, we're going to be looking at some of examples of what we just listed now. Now, number one example of a completed action that we use past simple tense for. I visited Barcelona last year. I visited Barcelona last year. I visited Barcelona last year. Now, that is an example of an action that has been completed in the past. It's telling us that the person actually visited Barcelona the previous year. For a specific time example, we have she met her friends at 8 p.m. yesterday. She met her friends at 8 p.m. yesterday. Now, this sentence is telling us about an action that occurred at a specific time, making use of past simple tense, which is met. Then we have a sequence of events. He woke up, got dressed, and went out. Now, there's a sequence of events there being him waking up, getting dressed, and then going out. So the past simple tense they woke, dressed, and went are used to tell us about a sequence of events that had occurred in the past. Now, the next thing we're going to be looking at is how do we make use of our past simple tense? How do we make use of our past simple tense? Now we can make use of our past simple tense. All subject when we are making use of it in the positive structure, all subject take the past form of the verb. All subject take the past form from the verb. Examples: he ate lunch an hour ago. He ate lunch an hour ago. Now, to form a sentence with our past simple tense, we make use of our subject or pronoun plus the verb. In this case, our subject is he and our verb is ate. He ate lunch an hour ago. Second one is my mom went to Istanbul last night, sorry. The subject there is my mom and the verb there is went. This is telling us that this person mom went to Istanbul last night. Also, we can also use past simple tense in negative structure. We previously looked at how to use them in positive structure. Now let's look at how to use them in the negative structure. Now when you want to form a sentence in the negative structure using the past simple tense, you have your subject plus didn't plus the verb. You make use of didn't plus the verb. Now, examples. He didn't study maths yesterday. He didn't study maths yesterday. Now, your verbs will have to remain in their base form. That means in their base form. Why you make use of didn't in to show that it's a past tense in a negative structure. He didn't study math yesterday. I didn't go to school last week. Also, we can also make use of our past simple tense as a question structure. When we are forming or asking a questions, how do we make use of the past simple tense? To do that, we'll use did plus the subject plus the verb. If you look at the ones that we're forming, we always the subject always comes first before the whatever we're using, maybe didn't or the verb. But in this case, we use did plus the subject plus the verb. Examples: did you read a book yesterday? Did he go to bed late last night? Now we are using this past simple tense in a question format, making sure we use the word did first before the subject and then the verb. Like the example, did you read a book yesterday? Did is used before the subject you, before the verb read. I hope we are understanding what this class is all about. Now, the next thing we're going to be looking at is how our verbs are divided. Now, verbs are basically divided into two parts. We have regular verbs and then the irregular verbs. Regular verbs are formed, their past forms are formed by adding the letter D, ed, or ied to the base form. Now, you can form the past tense of a verb by adding the letter D, ed or ied to the base form. That is for regular verbs. That only applies for regular verbs. While for irregular verbs, they do not follow any consistent pattern for their past form. Each irregular verb has a unique past form. Now, when we have a pattern for forming the past tense of regular verb by adding the ed or ied, in case of irregular verbs, there are no patterns. Every particular verb has a unique past forms. Now we're going to be looking at examples of some of those regular verbs and how their past tense are formed. Now we have some example here. We have example talk. The past tense of talk is talked by adding words ed. We have clean. We have watch. We form this by adding words ed to it. Remember I said you can form your past tense of regular verbs by adding letters like d, ed, and the likes. So these are examples of some of the verbs that can be formed by adding the letter ed. We also have other examples in the next slide. Here we have cry, carry, study. These are formed by changing the letter Y to I and then adding ED. Changing the letter Y to I and then adding ED. Cry becomes cried in the past form, carry becomes carried in the past form, and study becomes studied in the past form. Now we're going to be looking at irregular verbs and some of their past tense. Now, I have a list of some irregular verbs here. We have be, past tense is was or were. We have begin, began, bite, beat, break, broke, bring, brought, build, built, and so on and so forth listed in the slides on your screen. Now, in each of these verbs listed here, you can see that they do not follow a particular pattern. They do not follow what? A particular pattern. All their past forms are gotten from very unique forms. Unlike the regular verbs that we looked at, that their past forms are gotten by adding letter D or IED in some cases, or changing Y to I. In these irregular verbs, they do not have a particular form. They are unique in every way. Now we can also make use of past simple tense in talking about time expressions. For example, we have yesterday, ago, last. You can use these past simple tense verbs when you're talking in past simple tense. For example, my dad didn't go to work yesterday. Yesterday implies that that action took place in the what? In the past. I learned Spanish last year. That is also talking about the past. We visited Barcelona 2 years ago. Ago there is also talking about the past. So these are the various ways we make use of past simple tense in the English language. And I hope we've learned a lot about how to use past simple tense and how to derive the past forms of some of our regular verbs and irregular verbs. And above all, I hope you've enjoyed today's class. So I'm looking forward to see you all this time next class. Bye.